New details are now emerging about mysterious drone activity over U.S. military airspace. Air Force officials confirmed several unmanned drones flew over Langley Air Force Base in Virginia last December. It's been brought up at a number of congressional hearings and even reached President Biden. The Pentagon is still not saying what officials think these things really are. Correspondent Joe Connell is live for us at the Capitol. So, Joe, what are lawmakers telling you?
Well, this is what we know. We are learning more now about this fleet of objects that flew over Langley Air Force Base. Now, to be very clear, we still don't know exactly what they were. And if the Pentagon knows what they are, they certainly have not released that information publicly. But we do have some more information now, and a lot of this is being reported out. There was a Wall Street Journal report that says that Aero, which is the division within the Pentagon that investigates UAPs or UFOs or anomalous phenomena, things that we can't really explain, Aero was involved directly in this investigation right alongside the FBI to try to figure out what these things were, which means that the Pentagon at least had some consideration that this might be something we couldn't explain with the knowledge that we have. Let's take a step back here. All this happened back in December of 2023. These things, whatever they are, were flying and hovering over Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. It's housing one of the DoD's largest and most important military infrastructure and some of our most advanced fighter jets there. What you're watching right now is exclusive video of these things that a person came forward to NewsNation and gave us. This is a witness who lives in the area nearby, and he described seeing these drones he estimated to be about the size of cars. Now, that is actually also corroborated in some of the new reporting. Pentagon officials, military officials, generals that have seen these things in person now say in the Wall Street Journal report that these things were about 20 feet long, that they were about 100 miles an hour going that speed or faster at an elevation of 3,000 to 4,000 feet altitude, and again, hovering at times over our very important Air Force Base. Now, we stress, again, we don't know what these lights are that you are seeing. The Pentagon has not clarified. But one reason that there's speculation that they may not be an adversary like China or Russia trying to spy is because they're right there out in the open. There seems to be no effort to be low-key or try to hide this, which is what you might expect when one government tries to spy on another government. So take a listen to what Ryan Graves, who's a former Air Force pilot, told NewsNation. He's also now an advocate for other military pilots who have seen UAPs and are now coming forward and reporting them. This is what he said about that 2023 incident.
We are seeing these objects blinking with white lights, not in the strobe pattern that one would expect due to FAA regulations, but patterns that don't seem to meet anything that I'm aware of. Additionally, the objects apparently have been lit up, the large number of them, while they're operating over the base itself. So it did not appear, at least from the information I've received, that these objects were trying to conceal their location or their presence.
I've talked to a number of senators who still say they are not sure what these are. They speculate one reason or another. We reached out to the Pentagon today for extra clarification. So far, have not heard from them.
All right, Joe Connell live for us there in Washington. Joe, thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.